right, so we'll let Lauren get started with the new ticketing enhancements.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. Welcome in, everyone. Quite a bit to show this afternoon. Wanting to walk through our first round of ticketing enhancements. So, starting here on the new tickets list, you can see it in the nav menu here. We shipped it as a separate view to give you all time to get used to and adjust to what's new here. The original ticket list implementation, will be going away in some time. Again, just wanting to give you all the opportunity to familiarize yourselves with the new list and to become accustomed to it. So, um, just going to walk through this overhaul first. So, everything that we added here is meant to get you going from a wall of tickets to finding the one ticket that you need or the one thing that needs to be done next. So there are 5 moves that make that fast here within the tickets list: boards, views, filters, grouping, editing within the list. So on the left-hand rail here, we've got our list of boards and views that are available to the user. So in terms of how they're organized, I do want to cover this new layout. So any views that you saved when you were using the original ticket list are not lost. They're still here. They're just organized into My Views, Shared with Me, or Org. So the way that it worked was if you have any saved views that were specific to you, right? You didn't share them with anyone else on your team. They're just yours. They're going to show up under the My Views. Any views that were created by another user that were shared with you would appear in this Shared with Me section. And then any views that were shared with the entire company would be found here in the org. This would also include any of the default lists that we ship with that any user should have access to, like tickets without a customer or tickets without a primary tech. So those are all still available for you here, just organized a little differently. I want to point out that we also now have the ability to save a particular view to your favorites instead of every view that you have access to being sort of a my favorite view, right? You can actually star any of these, and these will show up in your top section here under favorites. So that is how the new nav menu is laid out. Before we dive into boards and how to create them, I do just want to give you all a talk track on the difference between views and boards, particularly if you're unfamiliar with board terminology. So the view is going to be a saved lens over your tickets. It's going to be a set of columns in a particular order that may or may not have some filters applied or a particular sort, right? So the view is customized to show the data in the way that you want to show it. A ticket can show up in as many views as it matches the criteria of that view, right? So the view never changes the ticket itself. It's just a different way of looking at the tickets in your system. A board is fundamentally different. A ticket is only ever assigned to one board at a time. That board you can consider being the home for routing and dispatch. So you assign a ticket to a board. There will be a future update where boards are going to be available within the dispatch board as well. So there's going to be some tie-in there. So, think of it, view how you look at the work, board potentially how the work flows as we further expand that out. So larger teams may have dedicated queues that they run their workflows through that utilize those boards. Other teams or smaller teams may be happy just using views alone to get to the information that they need. So we do ship with a handful of some example boards, but you can create as many boards as you need directly from here. So if I go ahead and click New Board, this is the form that opens up. So we do require a board name. I'll just say, I'm just going to call this something generic like triage. And then from here, you select your feed. So this is going to be how tickets come to be on this board. First option being inbox. So if I choose this, I can pick from any of the monitored inbox that we have set up in the system. So, if an email comes into this inbox and it warrants a new ticket being created, when that ticket is created, it will be assigned to this board for me. So that is one method. The other method is just manual adjustment. So, this could be maybe if you have some more specialized tier, like a tier 2 or tier 3, where those aren't necessarily fed by inbox, right? But if it exceeds the capability of your tier 1 and that group needs to escalate it up, right, we could change the board that way. So that's another way you can do it. But, even if you select inbox here as how your board is fed, nothing is stopping you from picking this board for assignment on any ticket. So this is just a quick way to default, ticket requests that come in from an inbox to a board. And then this toggle here is going to play into that future enhancement I talked about where your boards can show up on the dispatch board. We want to give you the flexibility to choose which boards make sense to display on the dispatch board. So it's just this simple toggle setting here if you do want to see these boards on your dispatch board in the future. So from this rail, I can select boards or views, and I'm going to click on a few of these actually just to show you. So as I'm doing this, you'll notice that these open up into what mimics like a tabbed approach, if you will. So if you need multiple views or boards to work your day, you can easily hop back and forth through these without having to refresh the entire data set. If you want to see all of your tickets in the system, not filtered by a view or a board, right, you can close out of all these tabs and that'll give you what's in your system. So you can do everything that you would do from the original ticket list still available through here. We've just given you some quality of life to hop easily back and forth between your views and boards and to also segment or favorite those views and boards. So that was quite a lot to cover. Just kind of want to pause here. Do we have any questions so far? Okay. Let's talk about some of these additional functions near the top here. So go to ticket. This didn't disappear. To conserve space, we do have basically where you select this, we open up a modal. The focus is already here, so you can just simply start typing. It's as if you would have selected go to ticket from the old list, so it's not any additional clicks or anything like that. We wanted to make sure the experience was still streamlined here, but your go to ticket is still here. You can use that as needed. Filters. Let's talk about this one. A lot of these enhancements are driven from user feedback, whether on the community or feedback that you've given to us in potentially onboarding calls, also derived from other demos or experiences we have, right? We wanted to give you all more power to dive into your data and find the matches that you need based on your criteria. So some enhancements here. When you're filtering by a field that is drop-down driven, meaning you can pick from a predetermined list, we support multi-select. So instead of having to select status, 3 times to distinctly hit 3 statuses like you did in the old list, you can now multi-select here as needed. So one quality of life. Also the search operator here. So if it's driven by a list dropdown, you'll have options for in, not in, equals, or not equals. And the search operator is going to change based on the type of field that you're searching by. So to give you another example, let's pick a text field like subject. So this is a free text field. Your search conditions are contains, start widths, end widths equal to. If we pick a field that is numeric like ticket ID, you'll notice we have equals, greater than, less than. So just know that that field type sort of derives what your search operators are going to be. So we do have the beginning innings of supporting or searches. So let me just pick a different field here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So we default to all, making a match with and conditioning. You can select any here to do an or search if you need to, again, giving you more power to hone in on the data you're looking for. I know that the any or the or matching is not always available depending on the combinations of fields you have. Those are enhancements that are coming in the future, again, to give you more power to dive into the data that you're looking for. So once you've set your filters here, we'll give you a little snippet of how many your filters you're applying to the list before you click apply. And any filters that you do have set will show up here in the top left, so you can easily tell, am I looking at everything or am I looking at a subset of the data based on my filter criteria. Another function we've added here is the beginnings of grouping. So if you want to sort of group or segment your tickets by a particular data to kind of work it in chunks, if you will, you can do that. So for example, if I'm filtering by multiple statuses, which I have here, if I group by status, here's all of my tickets in new. I can collapse this, and here's the other two statuses we're filtering by. So I can open up, my tickets in the open status and kind of work these if I need to, and then kind of the same thing for pending here. So giving you the ability to kind of segment your work in chunks to look at it at a different level, if you will, instead of just seeing one massive list of all tickets that meet the multiple statuses I've selected. So we have a few different options here for grouping to start with: status, priority, assignee, and customer. I'm going to close out that grouping so that we're looking at the full list again. The other thing I want to point out is the new arrange here. So I'm going to deselect a few of these different ones just to kind of show you what we did here. So basically, when you are selecting what columns you want to appear here, we'll show you everything sort of grouped into a particular area of the ticket. So classification, dates and SLA grouped together, right? This should help you more easily find the data points you want to add to any view. You can also do a search up here and sort of hunting and pecking, if you're not quite sure what section that particular data point might be available from. So just more tools in your toolkit to find the right columns for the view that you're trying to achieve. Any questions on these new components up here? Okay. Next, I want to talk about some of the bulk operation enhancements and inline editing. So if you select, any multiple of tickets, if it's a select all, or if you're targeting, particular rows here, we do have the bulk actions that will populate. So this will let you, within a few clicks, change all of the selected tickets in the manner that you've selected here. So updating your status, priority, severity, reassigning it, the tags, right? Linking, that can all be done from here. You can also change the board. So we added boards. Boards are now eligible for bulk update assignments directly from this list as well. So want to point that out if you need to do mass updates. And then inline editing. So we know and are cognizant that, at times it could take more clicks than we would like to get you to an edit screen where you could change some values. So one of the things that we've incorporated in this first batch of enhancements is the ability for inline editing. So instead of diving into this tickets detail screen and then selecting edit, right, or selecting edit directly in the row here, status, I can just simply toggle and change the value here directly in the row in this list. So we have a few different fields that are eligible for that, not just status. You can make tag changes directly here. You can change the primary tech from here, user group, ticket type, priority, severity, and then board as well. So these are the first round of inline editable fields that we've got here directly accessible from your list. Let's see. So all in line without leaving the view. Any questions on the inline editing? Okay. Next enhancement I want to walk you all through is going to be our ticket header redesign. So when you go to a ticket, let's see here. This one should work. I think it's open. Okay, so this is our redesigned header area. We heard concerns that sometimes you would have to dig to find the most important data or relevant data to help you better work the ticket. So we've tried to accumulate the most important fields and present them in an area that's always available for you. So we've got the subject of the ticket front and center, the ticket number. You'll also see the ticket type up here. If there are any tags assigned, that would show up in the top here. You have access to your linked tickets as well if you have, multiple tickets linked together. We've got our customer record here. And let me actually populate a few other data points to show you some more. Okay. So customer that the ticket is tied to. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the new edit in just a second. I just need to populate one more data point here. Okay, so if you have a lot of these fields populated, you won't have to do what I just did there to illustrate my point. But so customer that this ticket is related to, a snapshot of how many open tickets that customer currently has. The primary contact for the ticket, you can click this drop arrow to see their email or phone number. We've got the primary phone number for the customer and then the service address for this ticket, so where the work would be done. You've also got your status, priority, board, user group, primary tech, and associated texts. So another quality of life, inline editing directly available here from this header. So again, instead of hitting the edit button to go to that edit screen, if any of these fields here are ones you'd like to edit, you can just do it simply inline here. So I can update the status, right? Change priority if we need to, if it warrants it, change the board, right? All this can be done directly from here without having to go to an edit screen. As you scroll down into the ticket, the header does collapse to free up some real estate for you, but I want to point out that it is always available. So if I simply hover my mouse back over the header, notice it pops open, so you have access to those data points whenever you need. So you don't have to hunt and peck for some of where this data would be otherwise in the ticket. So that is always available, and we do condense it to save real estate to let you drill in if you need to. Any questions on the header or the inline editing in the header? Okay, so talking about the new add ticket experience. So selecting add ticket will open this flyout menu. So we've been rolling this out across the app. So instead of bringing you all to a whole new screen or page, if you will, having a flyout that will let you quickly put the data that you need together. So another initiative we have is to try to default as many fields as we can based on the context of where this ticket is being created from. So since we're from the list, we don't have the context into customer, so I can select customer here. And then from there, we pull in the defaults and we show you sort of, where these data points came from so that you're not guessing. So, pre-filled from defaults, we've got our type, our status, and our priority. So I'm just going to fill out some of these required fields here. So the other thing that we did was we tried to group the data points together in a logical grouping that made sense while also trying to give you all of the required fields at the top level so that you're not scrolling down into other areas in this form. You should be able to fill in the required fields relatively easily here, and those should be displayed near the top where it makes sense. So board is a field that you can populate here on this new Ticket Create experience. And we have a few additional new fields that you may not have seen before that we also rolled out as part of this enhancement. So we do have target date now. So this can be used for, either a goal marker for when this ticket needs to be resolved by. Could also potentially represent when a client is asking for something to be done. But this target date will feed into project management. So when you're looking at a roll up of tickets within the project, you'll be able to see that target date there as well. So that is a future enhancement. If it's not already available, we do have it in the works. Under fulfillment, we have ship method. So if you do, either ship products out from a provider directly to your client, or if you ship product from an internal warehouse where you have stock, for example, to this client as needed, you can select the ship method here. And this is fed from the existing system table ship method. This is the same data subset that we pull when you're looking at ship method on the purchase order form. We have a new field for customer PO number. So if your clients do provide you this sort of record, they have a particular PO number that this work should be logged against, they need to see this, on the ticket, for example, you can capture that here. We've also added the ability for you to go ahead and select your item serviced during the create instead of waiting for the ticket to be created and then going in onto that item service tab and making your changes there. You can now do it at the point of time of creation. So you can select multiples. You can add as many assets as you need to, and also services just directly in one step here. Clicking into more details will show any of the additional fields. This could be populated with custom fields, for example, that may not be flagged as required. Would also have some lesser important fields that may not be part of every subset. So just know that this more detailed section is available here if you need it. So when you select create ticket, it will go ahead and create that ticket. You'll get a little notification here for the ticket being created. You can select this hyperlink to open up that ticket detail, or you can stay here with this flyout and create another ticket. So this experience was added here at the request of being able to spin up multiple tickets easily. I do know that we have some enhancements down the road to make it a better experience for the use case of just creating a single ticket. So just be on the lookout for some further enhancements. So that is the new add ticket flyout. If you're editing a particular ticket, selecting edit ticket will bring up the same flyout. So it's the same look and feel of the create. And this will just allow you to make edits to your fields on your tickets. Any questions on the add or the edit? Okay. We've got some more enhancements on the roadmap. Marcia and the service ops team are working those, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But I do want to open it up to the floor. Have y'all spent some time in the new ticket list? Have you created new tickets? Are you enjoying what you're seeing? And if you're not, how else can we make it better? What are some other pain points that you might have?
Don't be shy. Anybody have feedback for Lauren?
Looks like Joe is typing. No pressure.
I could just talk. That's fine. Um, So, yeah, I had a question around filtering tickets. One of the challenges we kind of have is there's no like concept of like a procurement queue or a purchasing queue for our buyers. So we're looking to kind of create more of an efficient way to get their eyes on tickets that they need to procure products for,
Hmm.
but simply doing it by status doesn't really work because a lot of times you have, you know, staggered procurement for for a particular job.
Okay, so
So like
order
I
by
wasn't,
dates, kind of.
yeah, but sometimes that's not, um, yes, but that even that becomes a little bit tedious, right? Oh, like we're almost thinking of it like in terms of being able to have like project managers like select which items they want to send to purchasing to go ahead and procure um through the system and then kind of have said items marked that way on a ticket kind of like more interactively and then have purchasing be able to see those tickets that have items that are marked to essentially buy now.
Gotcha.
It's like a
So sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean i- to kind of show it in a way where it's like a purchase by date in a sense, but we'd almost want it where like we could like have PMs mass select like items on a service order, and if you want to say purchase by date, well then purchase by date would be right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever today's date is, right?
Mm-hmm. So this would be project managers. Are they using projects on these tickets, or is it less an official project that tickets roll up under, if you
Yeah,
don't
I
mind?
mean, well, it could be both ways, right? So we're kind of still in the Tiger Paw environment. Um,
Okay.
we're not on this, but we're just kind of looking through it, and we struggle with this in the Tiger Paw environment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like it could be for projects or it could be for tickets. Not everything we do is a project, but and
Sure.
and we don't always need to procure everything that's on a particular ticket. So like that those kind of gaps create sometimes inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes total sense. I see where the parts needed status doesn't communicate which part of the ticket you would want them to pick up. I totally get that. I know we have some recent project enhancements. We're looking to get more roll up data for all of the, and this wouldn't help every use case you have, I understand.
Mm.
Um, but we are looking to get more roll up in the parts and labor. And I can totally see a world where, you would select parts to either create that PO for now, or potentially send to a queue. So I have heard the request for a purchasing queue before. It just traditionally hasn't gotten a ton of traction to bump it up in the roadmap timeline. So I would say, have you or your company already posted in the community about a purchasing queue? And you may have already. I know there's at least one
Yeah,
post. Okay.
yeah, I definitely have.
Okay. That you're probably the post that I'm thinking of right now. Okay. Yeah, because I have heard this before. So I can bring this back to Kemp, who is currently the product manager in charge of projects, to see what sort of ordering enhancements we can make. An ordering queue, I think. So timeline roadmap wise, I think the next couple of months are pretty stocked, but definitely I will bring this up. So it's going to affect probably a couple of teams just off the top of my head. So purchasing and inventory roll up under service ops right now, and then project management would be under Kemp's team right now. And then the two would need to work together so you could feed that purchasing queue either from a project or a ticket, which that totally makes sense. Um, I don't think this is going to help you today, but I will show it, sort of like a separate area. Um, we have a new stock levels view on the inventory matrix, and this is where the system kind of keeps track of all the products that are flagged for inventory management. that are, living on your tickets. So the system will sort of tally up the quantity that's needed on tickets, meaning it's not already been reserved, it hasn't been billed, the ticket's not voided. So it's a valid sort of open, active ticket that has parts needed on it. And the system will look at that compared to how many are available or free to give today, as well as how many are on order to make a recommended needed to order quantity. The screen is kind of the beginnings of bulk ordering, if you will. So you could select, within this list, do a single create PO action, and this will try to organize it by your primary provider. You can change it though if you need to. This has a link back to the ticket numbers that went in to determine this sort of needed to order recommendation. And then of course you can make changes from here or choose to defer later. So I know this isn't going to help you, but I thought I would just kind of show you this if that gives you any sort of creativity for some other ways you could potentially try to order, at a time. But I know this doesn't solve particularly what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It definitely shows some building blocks there. But yeah,
Mhm,
that obviously wouldn't address the timing issue.
mhm. Yeah. So, like I said, I will bring that back to the couple of PMs that own that area, and I'll also link them to the community post. I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same one. And see if we can get that potentially prioritized, maybe either in the next 2-month window, or if some openings arise, definitely keep it in. So, thank you for bringing that up.
Yep, thanks.
Absolutely. Um, any other pain points or feedback we can talk about, guys? Okay.
So I
Anything you go
I
ahead?
I actually sorry, yeah, it's Joe again. Actually I posted this in community too, but I was just curious if there's any
Mhm.
work being done in terms of job costing and real time job costing. So not just using estimated costs on a ticket, but as procurement that's linked directly to the tickets happen,
Mhm.
updating the actual job costing tab on the ticket to reflect actuals, not estimated.
So some of that should already be here. So let's do a test, if you will.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see. Okay, so let me see what inventory method I'm using here really quick. And this is a dev environment, so I may not have been the last person to turn it on. Okay, so average. Okay. Um, okay. So this should still be open. Okay. Okay. So all right, so this iPad Air has your estimated cost of 850 based on that relationship with provider Amazon. So if I go through the motions and create a PO here. Okay. And, okay. And I'm just probably going to have to enter in like a really random price to try to get it to move an inch. And we can see it. So let's just say for some reason this ended up costing 1,000. Hopefully that's a new serial number. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and commit that. Just gonna keep this open in case we need to come back. If I go back to the ticket, what I would expect to see is that cost updated to $1,000, and it does not. So that's a bug. It's supposed to work. I know that doesn't help you today. I apologize. Let me make a note of that.
Yeah, no,
Posted
that yeah,
cost.
and well, actually, yeah. So And then on the right hand side, you have an area there that shows the job costing. So like that, and then
Yeah.
obviously that's where like we'd look for it to be reflected as well.
Mhm.
And then obviously things pulled from inventory. I guess that's why you were looking at the cost accounting method, right?
Yep.
Because if you pull from inventory, then there is no purchasing record directly tied.
Right.
Um, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm striking out here with you. I don't, so sorry. Yeah. So I'll get that bug entered. The intended experience is for that cost to update, which should reflect here in your job costing. Absolutely.
Do
If
you
you were
know,
using, yeah.
do you know, Lauren, is that supposed to reflect upon receiving or
Mhm.
and posting the receipt or just when you issue the PO?
Yeah, so it is twofold. So it should try to pull in, your estimated cost when you're adding that part per provider. So I know we have, man, this, I'm knocking out again. I know we have some bugs in the product catalog where you're supposed to be able to assign any number of providers and then sort of tie that estimated cost per provider. We've got
Hmm.
some integrations coming in that should be updating that cost periodically. So it should be a little more than estimated cost, right? It should be a little more accurate to current time than just, a data point you put in the system 6 months ago when you configured it, is what I mean. Um,
Yeah,
so
I've
that
seen
cost.
I've seen
Mhm,
that because I actually we actually have four of the distributors set up.
mhm,
So we do see costs come in and
mhm.
update. Yeah.
So that's precursor. So that's at least half of it. Um, when you post that or commit that receipt on the PO, that cost should travel then at that point of posting. My gosh, sorry, posting the receipt. When you post the receipt, that cost should come over to the ticket because in inventory's mind, that is the official cost that we're incurring for that particular unit that you've ordered. Um, if you are using specific costing where your serial numbers themselves carry a particular unit cost, at the point of filling, so when you reserve that serial number and dedicate it to the ticket, that's another marker where we should update the cost if there's a variance, right? So if you're not purchasing, you already have that serial number in stock, for example, with an
Yep.
actual cost methodology, we should update it at that point too.
And what about for non-inventory tracked items? So like software licenses, things like that. When do their actual prices go? Do they require you to receive? Because like in Tiger Paw, we
Mm-hmm.
could, like that's kind of like a gap where like we could receive, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we don't, our that kind of falls behind because the warehouse is not really receiving software licenses. So sometimes they're left unreceived for a while because we're getting them via other means.
Yeah, so the licenses, depending on how you have them configured in the system. So we have we have a concept called product type, and behind the scenes, that product type is flagged to be considered as either like a one-time or a recurring product. And recurring products sort of have their own life cycle in the system. And so the recurring product, would only pull, man, let me see if I have an example item. Might not. Mm, okay. Pretty sure this recurring feature is flagged for recurring. The only cost field that's available to these types of, recurring items is going to be the standard cost. And this is the only cost that gets pulled in. So when you're adding this to a ticket, for example, it's just going to pull in the standard cost. Um, You can put these items on a purchase order, but the system, because it's not flagged for inventory, doesn't really retain that cost in any official capacity, like probably what you would need it to be. So if the license is not flagged for inventory, the system just carries that single standard cost field. Um, do you guys find that that type of product in your catalog kind of fluctuates in price quite a bit as well?
It can, yeah.
You can. Yeah. Okay.
And
I
some
can.
sometimes it's not, sometimes it's not just software licenses. It could be extended warranties depending on the size of the deal, manufacturers may be willing to extend some pretty deep discounts compared to what their normal pricing structures are.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Are
does
you?
Mhm.
Sorry. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Are you guys putting that, or would you ever put those types of products on a purchase order, even if they're not flagged for inventory management? Would you still kind of go through the motions of ordering?
Oh yeah, of course. Because some of them they do carry cost. I mean, we still have to purchase them.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because some of our users don't want to put those non-inventory flagged items on PO. So just kind of wanted to understand what your process is at least. We could look at an enhancement where even if it's not flagged for inventory, taking some level of that that cost and tying it back. Let me just try one thing here for a product that's not flagged for inventory. I just want to test something here. So let's say I drop something here. I probably, you know what? It's probably a bad test. Um, I don't think we do this. So yeah, let me write this up and bring it back to the product manager that would look at POs. So if we had a product that's not flagged for inventory as you're purchasing it, when you update the cost, well, this might be a bigger change because I don't think you can receive for those products. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun feedback item for us to work on. Okay, so we need a cost on a PO for a non-inventory flagged item to travel back to the ticket, basically.
Yeah,
And the
so like
ticket.
in our world, it would be like any kind of software license, again, extended warranties, maintenance contracts with the manufacturer, things that we are required to issue POs to distribution with those things on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's helpful context. I can bring this back to and it's probably going to be a couple different PMs since this would branch probably product catalog and inventory and ticketing. So Marsha's going to love me. Marsha's going to love me today.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Um, anything else?
All right. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We'll get some more power hours out there scheduled. We got Summit coming up. We're hoping to see some of you guys at Summit. Um, that's in, I think, just 2 weeks from now. So we'll get some more power hours scheduled and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
both.